the opening stage of the Dauphiné. Can't certainly go all the time. But the sprint is led out now by Mathieu van der Poel. And now Pogačar goes to the front. It's Tadej Pogačar to the line. And how about...
That first stage gives so much hope, didn't it?
They set it up beautifully. And Jonathan Milan will be looking to finish it off. And it is a beautiful story written by Romeo on French roads. Remco Evenepoel going supersonic at the Dauphiné. The clock is green, he's fighting for every second here. Tadej Pogačar ceding 3 quarters.
I reckon you had no special skin suit on there too as well. I was looking at the details now. Weird, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think he wanted to smash it.
What a win for Jake Stewart. Tadej Pogačar riding himself back up the standings in the Dauphiné. And the modern champion of champions wins stage 6 of the Dauphiné. Tadej Pogačar may be deciding that the best form of defence is attack. It's the all-conquering Tadej Pogačar we all know. Lenny Martinez coming right around, making his move. Win number 3 of the season on the World Tour. And it's the overall race win at the Dauphiné for the Slovenian superstar.
Oh my life, Critérium du Dauphiné. Are we excited about the Tour de France after that? Yeah. Oh, I knew I'm going to do this.
Do you know what I am? But I'm more excited about Jonas. I think at the Tour, Jonas, what is it till the final week? 7 weeks until the final week of the Tour?
Question.
That's still a long time, I think, for Jonas to come in shape. So I think Tadej is good, like he always is. But I just see a little bit of Jonas still edging him out in that final week.
See, I agree. I don't know how it will go. Right in the conversation. Yeah. I think a lot of the chat around the Dauphiné has been, oh, here we go again. Pogačar is going to dominate. He's going to be unbeatable. But I do think that Visma time these things very well, and they know that Jonas has to peak for the Tour de France. He's still coming back from his crash. His numbers, we understand, are better than ever. And we don't have mountains until what? Like proper mountains until stage 12? So... you know, you've got to factor all of that in. And I think that Jonas is looking like he's on the right path. So, but maybe I'm just glass half full and getting excited.
Maybe behind the scenes, he can be very quietly confident and thinking, this is fine. I mean, that first opening stage, I think gave us all such excitement the way it unfolded. Bam, stage 1, Dauphiné, and we've already got such a great, exciting, entertaining stage. I mean, I guess the time trial certainly changed things, didn't it, with the general classification. Yeah. Tadej with the...
That's my big one,
loss.
is the time trial.
Yeah.
Is that Tadej lost time, but you said then, Tadej maybe not in every little bit of kit available.
Yeah, no, I think Jonas, I think he will go into his last little block here between now and the Tour de France confident, because I think, we know Tadej's at a very, very high level, but Jonas is at a good level as well. And the other thing as well is their full Tour de France teams weren't on show there.
Yeah.
Now you put in Simon Yates, you put in Almeida, you put in a stressful first 8-9 days of the Tour de France. As we know, anything can happen. But this is the first time for a few years we've gone into Western France, northwestern France, which does change the dynamic of the Tour a little bit. It makes it a lot more stressful. And especially this first 9 days, it's like 9 one-day races, which we know anything can happen.
Yeah.
So who then would that favour in terms of not just the riders, but their teams between those two in particular? Because we're looking at them first and foremost.
Well, with Tadej, he's all right. He's all right. One day race. He's a pretty complete bike rider. He's a pretty complete bike rider. So I think personally, that's certainly not.
I'm trying to add some gender. Throw me a bone.
The only thing I'd say about that is, I'd say for a one-day race, Visma's got a better team.
Well, listen, yeah.
For a leader in a one-day race, Tadej's the better leader. So it's really...
Is that enough to balance it out?
Let's hope so.
and then there's things you can control and things you can't at the Tour de France. It's 190 crazy men fighting for stages day in, day out. And they said you can ride better position, you can have good teammates, but you can't control everything.
So when you watched the Critérium du Dauphiné, at the end of all of it, what did you think as a teaser for the Tour de France? Because an awful lot of people are saying, like I say, that's it, Tadej Pogačar. It's his to lose. What was your takeaway from the Dauphiné? I
think those two are clearly a step above the others. I think Remco will improve as well. He's also coming back from some adversity. But those two teams should dominate the tour. That's one part of it. The other one there, which I was quite impressed, was obviously Jonathan Milan. He's going to be the man to beat in the sprints, I think, this year. The Dauphiné is not an easy race for a man so big. And I think it was great preparation, and he's had a good rest after a really good spring. But I think the way that they're going to structure their team there at Trek, he will be the man to beat for the green jersey and also for multiple stages.
I think just the way they bring a team together. It doesn't matter which rider it is. We saw it already in the Giro d'Italia, the way they rally around one leader, I think, is exceptional. And they did that on the day when Jonathan Milan won the stage in the Dauphiné. He was distanced, they all waited, they all brought him back.
What I'm interested in is Van der Poel. I think, as Matt said there, first one-day races for the first 9-10 days. Van der Poel can rip that race apart on his own. And I think with Philipsen there, it's how much he's able to do that. Because I think obviously they want him for the sprint stages. Philipsen may be going for green, but I just think Van der Poel's got a great opportunity in this Tour to try and get that green jersey. In the first 10 days especially, so it's what he can do to challenge that. And I think that might be the pressure put on Trek's shoulders a little bit.
Have they stated yet what the aim is for Alpecin-Koenig at the Tour de France? Because I always find it intriguing that Van der Poel is so often there, every now and again to be able to go for his stages, but primarily really in support of Jasper Philipsen, other than if it is a stage that's nailed on for him. Have they said whether Mathieu can be going for green over Jasper?
I don't think they ever do they?
No, they keep it pretty tight-lipped. But there's definitely stages that suit Matthew more in the first week. And then the other one is Caden Groves is coming in a lead-out role, which we haven't seen before. So it's a combination that I've never seen the three of them together working for the same goal. So that's also...
Who's going to be the last lead-out man? Van der Poel, Caden, you think?
Probably, I would think Caden. I think Matthew would be he would be the man to put them into position because he's such a freak of nature that he can move very far and very long.
Mathieu Van der Poel and Caden Groves as your lead-out man.
It's not bad. It's not bad. And it's going to have to be.
That's insane, isn't it?
But it's going to have to be to go head-to-head with Trek. It's going to have to be.
I'm really intrigued by that, though, because there's a difference between a sprinter doing a lead-out and a Van der Poel doing a lead-out.
Yeah.
It can go wrong sometimes. So I'd be very intrigued to see. Caden can definitely do it. But if it's as effective, because let's not forget,
Van der Poel's often like a pilot. He finds that line and then Jasper's able to follow. But as a traditional sort of train, one off after the other, I don't know how that works.
I think if Van der Poel's doing that lead out and he hits the front, I was doing last man, that to hold that power even on the wheel for that amount of time, for Caden, probably fine. Then for Jasper to hold on to it for another 15, 20 seconds, that's a long time at 800, 900 watts. So it really depends how they adapt to this, because it might just go, we're too fast.
Explode. If we're to write headlines in advance and simplify things, are we looking at Visma Lease Bike having the best team and UAE having the strongest rider? Simple as that.
I think individually UAE have got the best team if you're looking at individuals in that team.
But as a team?
I think as a team, Visma have got it together a little bit more. I think they've got confidence in what Jonas can do where it's very strategic. I think with Tadej, it's just getting to a point. I don't think there's much strategy around it apart from Tadej can win today if we get to that point. I think with Visma, it'll be this day we need to do this, that day we need to do this. Whereas I think UAE are always, we can win today, but let's try and set this up. So I just see the way that they approach things is very, very different. And I think that'll be the benefit to Visma in the end.
What are we going to see in the first 12 days? When we haven't really got that GC battle yet, what are we going to see from the two teams? Is it just a case of staying as safe as possible?
Yeah,
very much. I say just.
It's a big task.
Yeah.
It is a big task, especially in northwestern France. So, there'll be races unfolding for the stage, and there'll be races. A lot of those stages, Visma will just be happy to get Jonas through unscathed every day.
Is this still a thing where it's, I know you get through safe, but the way Tadej races, it's like I said, it's an opportunity every day. Crosswind, let's give it a go. We can take some time if we can.
I'm certainly not afraid.
Yeah.
I mean,
throw down there.
Back in the day, it was
all. So you think he's not going to
very...
try to stay safe? He's going to chip away whenever he can?
Well, I think if we look at any GC rider now, we always have in our head, they need to stay safe until it gets to the mountains. Tadej is completely opposite. He's like, there's a chance, let's take some time, let's take as much as we can from that one day. So I don't know, I think for Visma it might be a case of just keep an eye on Tadej, stay safe, but just don't lose any time.
Because also with Tadej, traditionally you would think a GC rider, you will stay safe and then conserve as much as you can for whenever the race really kicks off. With Tadej, though, look at the way he raced the Giro last year. He just chipped at time constantly. You're thinking he can't possibly keep this up, and he did, and then he kept it up all the way through the Tour de France. So I think with him, it's such a different proposition. But Visma can't be going into this, and they will not be going into this thinking how to beat Tadej Pogačar, will they? They'll be thinking, how does Jonas win? Which is different.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got, definitely.
They'll race their own race.
I'd be surprised if we're sitting here on the first rest day of the Tour de France and Tadej hadn't won a stage. I'd be very surprised.
We can't just talk about the top two, though. Who else are we looking at?
God knows. Definitely.
Oh, what's to say that Almeida can't finish on the podium?
Yeah.
Adam Yates. Or
Simon Yates, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we saw it with UAE before, where two of them finished on the podium. You know, that still could happen.
Second and third.
40 years of this year since France had a winner.
This time flies, doesn't it?
I take it that curse is going to be broken yet, is it? Yeah, no, it does though.
No, definitely.
Ça fait du mal, quoi.
Actually, when was the last? I'm thinking
40 years.
Podiums, no. Podium's at least a decade.
Bardet,
20...
That's near on a decade without a podium.
Who's the next big French hope then, would you say?
the young guy that
Paul Sextus.
Yeah.
That's a couple of years down.
Because he's what, 19?
Not yet.
Not yet 19.
First year out of juniors.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, he's a big talent.
Yeah, he's a real
And what we've seen this year is they need to keep him, invest him, look after him long term, because as we know in those
pressure off.
cycling mad countries, Belgium and France especially, he'll come under a lot of pressure soon enough.
Yeah.
Being the next replacement to win 40 plus years on.
Yeah, exactly. So for the French, il faut attendre.
No, he's a good one.
Je vais juste vous demander un petit clap. Je le fais, hein, mais-
Non, il n'y a qu'un problème.
Allez, c'est parti.
Yann Janssen, c'est la toute première image du Tour de France et de cyclisme que j'ai en mémoire. Le Tour 68, j'ai 7 ans, c'est la télévision en noir et blanc chez mes parents. Et j'ai commencé à suivre le Tour avec passion à partir de 1969, donc les débuts d'Eddy Merckx dans la grande boucle. Et puis ensuite, voilà, Eddy Merckx, Louis Ocaña évidemment, Raymond Poulidor, Bernard Thévenet, plus tard Bernard Hinault. Ce sont eux qui m'ont fait rêver. C'est Raymond Poulidor qui m'a vraiment donné l'amour du Tour. Pour être directeur du Tour de France, il faut évidemment aimer le vélo, mais il faut aussi aimer son pays, la France. Il faut être capable de donner. Je ne sais pas si je travaille 0 heure par semaine ou 80 heures par semaine, toutes les semaines qui existent depuis 20 ans. Partout où je vais, je suis le directeur du Tour de France. Alors je parle Tour de France, bien sûr, c'est ce qui m'occupe le plus, mais c'est aussi Paris-Roubaix, Paris-Nice, le Critérium du Dauphiné, toutes nos épreuves. Partout, je suis directeur du Tour, où que j'aille. Le Tour de France, c'est la plus grande compétition cycliste au monde, mais c'est d'abord 3500 km de sourire. Ce sont des gens au bord de la route qui ont tous le sourire. Des Français, des étrangers, des grands, des petits, des femmes, des hommes, des anciens, des gamins. Tous avec le sourire. Le Tour de France ne va pas changer fondamentalement leur vie, mais ce sont quelques heures d'insouciance. C'est la mise en valeur du patrimoine, des paysages, du terroir et des gens qui façonnent ces paysages. Et puis c'est aussi rendre de la fierté aux gens. En France, on a une formule, baisse la tête, tu auras l'air d'un coureur. Mais aujourd'hui, là où le Tour de France passe, les gens relèvent la tête parfois. Dans les fonds de vallée, etc., où les gens se sentent abandonnés, dans les petits villages. C'est capital pour moi que nous puissions aller régulièrement dans ces villages-là. Et les grands départs à l'étranger que non seulement je défends, mais que je revendique, ne sont possibles que parce que nous allons toujours dans nos petits villages. Les gens à l'extérieur pensent qu'on a tous les numéros de téléphone de tous les coureurs. Et je leur dis, mais j'ai une vingtaine de numéros de coureurs. En revanche, j'ai peut-être 1000 élus. C'est-à-dire que nous n'avons pas notre stade. On n'est pas comme le foot, le rugby, on n'a pas de parquet de basket, de patinoire pour le hockey sur glace. Il nous faut une ville départ, une ville arrivée et les routes pour aller d'un point A à un point B, donc, qui dépendent des conseils départementaux. Donc il faut connaître les gens. Lorsqu'il a fallu changer les dates du Tour de France en 2020, n'importe qui aurait eu 95% des oui parce que c'est la force du Tour de France. Mais les 5 derniers pourcents, si vous ne connaissez pas les gens, si vous ne les avez pas rencontrés, si vous n'avez pas tissé des liens sincères d'amitié, ça ne marche pas. C'est-à-dire que ces liens, ils sont essentiels. Nous ne sommes nulle part chez nous sur les routes. Nulle part chez nous. On ne peut exister que parce que des élus nous permettent d'y aller, parce que les services de l'État sont là. Tour de France, c'est 28 000 policiers, gendarmes et pompiers tous les ans sur la route. Vous ne les obtenez pas par un claquement de doigts. On a la chance d'avoir 300 candidatures. 250 Françaises, une cinquantaine à l'étranger pour le Tour, pour une trentaine de places, mais il faut les entretenir. Parce que quand vous choisissez un grand départ, si par exemple vous choisissez l'Italie, le départ de Florence, on savait très bien qu'on n'irait pas en Bretagne ou en Belgique. Donc toutes les candidatures qui sont en Bretagne ou en Belgique, vous pouvez déjà les effacer. Après, il y a les endroits qui sont candidats, mais où on ne saura jamais s'installer parce que le Tour est retransmis dans le monde entier, on en est fier, mais il faut quand même qu'on puisse s'installer. Il y a un certain nombre de matériel, de camions, etc. Donc voilà, tout ça fait que tisser les liens est essentiel. Vous savez, Jean-Marie Leblanc m'a demandé de m'occuper du parcours de Paris-Nice 2005. Donc, ce qui m'a vraiment marqué, c'est que, à ce moment-là, tous les élus que j'ai contactés par mail ou au téléphone m'ont tous dit non. Tous ceux que je suis allé voir m'ont tous dit oui. C'est-à-dire qu'à un moment, ce contact-là, le Tour de France est une épreuve de proximité. Le Tour de France de mes rêves, c'est le Tour qui passe devant chez moi. Vous devez aller voir les gens. Et je vais même vous dire que je fais pire maintenant. C'est-à-dire que très souvent, j'ai fait premier train, premier avion, dernier avion. Maintenant, quand j'ai quelque chose le soir, nous faisons des faces au lecteur, par exemple, ou des rencontres avec les gens. J'adore faire ça, aller direct. Non pas que j'aime pas avoir rendez-vous avec des journalistes, mais aller directement voir les gens. Et en fait, je ne prends plus le dernier train parce que, quand vous avez le dernier train, vous regardez la montre. C'est-à-dire qu'à un moment, vous n'êtes plus vous-même parce que vous vous dites « non mais je vais le louper ». Autrement, vous dormez une demi-heure de moins ou 3/4 d'heure de moins et c'est pas bien grave. Donc voilà. Mais vous êtes avec les gens et les gens se rendent compte que vous êtes resté avec eux et ils le savent et ils vous en sont reconnaissants. Donc voilà, c'est ça. La vie de directeur du Tour, c'est ça. C'est beaucoup d'interviews, c'est énormément de rencontres, c'est beaucoup de déplacements en France et à l'étranger. C'est un rôle d'ambassadeur, c'est évident, du Tour de France et aussi, dans une certaine mesure, de la France, bien évidemment.
It's literally being a politician who loves cycling.
Oh, it's a big job.
Yeah.
Well, it's an institution. It's a French institution, the Tour de France.
Global as well, though, isn't it?
Well, it is global, but it's the biggest, well, as we know, it's the biggest annual sporting event in the world. And the whole country stops and a lot of the world stops to watch it.
It's really funny as well, because my husband's family are French, right? So they're all in France or in Morocco, but even the French family in Morocco are really, they've got that Frenchness very close to them. And that's whenever I started seeing it through their eyes, that's when I realised what it means to French people, because they don't follow cycling at all for the rest of the year. And it is such an event. It's like, we grew up with, say, Wimbledon, for example, and then all of a sudden you're an absolute avid fan of tennis for a couple of weeks in the summer.
Go and buy a tennis racket and stuff.
Yeah, and go down to the local court and have a practice. Like, they're all just completely obsessed with it, to the extent that, by the end of the Tour de France, they're all complete experts, who all the riders are, they know everything that's going on, and then they forget about it for the rest of the year. But it's such a part of their cultural identity.
I think it's mad. You'll have seen this when you're in the car as well. You'll drive past a certain spot, middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll be on a roundabout and someone will have a table out, a gazebo out, they'll have all the wine, the baguettes and everything. It's like that.
Yeah.
It goes past for maybe a minute, the actual race. They've had a full day out of it and I always go past.
It's the build-up that's the most fun.
Yeah, of course it is, of course it is. But it's the fact that the build-up to what they're watching is like, by the time I've been speaking, it's gone.
What's really funny as well is, like, you're building up to it so much as you're watching, that whenever the riders come past, you're like, oh my God, it's Pogačar, or whoever it might be. As though that's a shock that they exist in real life. You're standing there all day waiting for them, and when they come, it's like the hysteria of all of it's amazing. But I just wonder, in the middle of the sport, whether you've had much of a chance to actually stand there amongst the fans and know what it is like from the side of the road, because it's a completely different experience.
Oh, he's been in the mix zone.
Actually, I have the last couple of years, I've done some bottle points.
Amazing.
Yeah, which has been interesting, because the first 10 to 15 years it was just in the team car and you are in a bit of a cocoon there, or a big fishbowl actually.
Yeah.
But no, it was pretty crazy to see the fans on some of those mountain passes and how they've been up for their days, some of those.
Yeah. What was your first experience like whenever you were doing the bottles for the first time, stepping out of the team car and seeing it from the other side?
No one's getting a feed here.
Well, the Tour is... it's such a different race as well, because it doesn't matter where you are, there's crowds everywhere. So it's a lot more stressful, and parking on those mountain passes is quite hard to find a parking. Sometimes you've got to walk a kilometre up to your point there or whatever, but no, I think it is a spectacle. It definitely is a spectacle, and to see it from the outside was interesting.
Yeah. Parking is difficult. Having a wee is even harder.
Well, I remember one of my first years as a director, I had a CEO from a big company in the car with me. Yeah. And as men, we don't think about it in a 6-hour stage. So we stopped a couple of times and I offered this lady drinks all day. And I was wondering, about 3 hours in, I'd had a couple of drinks and she hadn't touched anything. And it was it was an Alpe d'Huez stage of the Tour de France. And so we're getting closer, and we'd stopped 2 or 3 times for a nature break, and then it clicked in hour number 6, and she was a little bit uncomfortable, and she started to say goodbye to me about 3 kilometres from the finish. And as soon as we pulled into the deviation, yeah, she did. Yeah, she'd already said goodbye, she'd already thanked me, and she was out of there, and I didn't know exactly why. Like, she'd been well advised. She's been well advised. She didn't touch a drop of fluid.
Dangerous.
Yeah,
because dehydration.
I was pregnant in the back of was it still Team Sky at the time, whenever Geraint Thomas won up Alpe d'Huez, and we were in the climb just before we got to Alpe d'Huez. And because when you're pregnant, you have to wee an awful lot more often. And we stopped so that they could hand out some bottles. And as soon as we got out, I was like, oh my God, where can I find a toilet on this mountainside? And of course, it's lined with people. So it's not even like you can go for a wild wee anywhere. It was completely exposed, completely barren. I'm running up and down this road trying to find anything. Anyway, I don't know if you know this organization that follows the Tour de France around, encouraging people to fish. Something du pêche. And I always thought it was like a Christian thing because of the connection with fishing. And it's not. It's literally encouraging people to fish. Anyway, there was this fishing stall in the middle of a mountain that had a curtain and a bucket of sand behind it.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I was like, please, can I use your bucket of sand? And it was the most satisfying wee I've ever had.
Oh,
Imagine.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful for that day.
That is very grateful.
What I find really fascinating about the tour, though, and you don't understand it unless you've worked on it in some way, Prudhomme said there is no venue, there are no stadia, but they impose this infrastructure every single day. And so if you were to turn up to a start village or a finish village, you think, oh, this is what it looks like.
No.
All of that comes down and it's completely empty within a couple of hours.
Yep.
And it moves on to the back of a truck and it goes on to the next place while the start village has been dismantled in the start area and then been moved along as well. The logistics involved in all of it are absolutely insane and so impressive.
Then when you get to a stage finish, for example, and you're there maybe a good couple of hours before the stage finishes, all of those truck drivers, all of those who are part of that logistical
circus.
They're there in their hammocks, sleeping. If you go to sort of like the far end, in the meantime, they've done the washing. They've got a little washing line out.
Yeah.
Their washing's drying while the stage is on. They're getting some sleep. Meanwhile, all of this action is unraveling, and they wake up. Pack it all away.
Yeah.
It's quite incredible, really.
It's such a brilliant advert for the country as well. Like, so I lived in France and studied there whenever I was 20, 21. And in the few years afterwards, I kind of fell out of love with France a little bit. You know, when you get too close to a country, but you're not quite a part of it. And so I sort of fell out of love with France for a long time until I got back into covering cycling and then traveling around with the Tour de France. And it brings you into parts of France that are so romantic and historic and so beautiful. It's just the best postcard for...
And that you wouldn't naturally see.
Yeah, exactly.
No, because we do, the Tour de France goes to a lot of the same places or similar areas, but there's also parts of the Tour de France that...
The Ardèche.
Yeah.
Went through the Ardèche a few years
you would
ago.
not go to. That you would not go to.
Where the heck are we?
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost booked a holiday.
You almost did.
Almost did.
Yeah, well, 2019, when we went out for Eurosport, that was my first year covering it for Eurosport. And I can't remember exactly where we were. It was sort of south central France. But then went back to Amsterdam afterwards, jumped in the camper van, came straight back again on holiday.
Wow, really?
Right away.
Yeah, straight away.
I can't remember where that is.
No.
Je me souviens d'avoir vu dans un journal, au lendemain de la présentation du Tour de France, un journal régional, toujours pas nous. C'est l'amour du Tour qui s'exprime. Lorsque nous sommes retournés dans la Creuse l'année dernière, qui verra aussi le Tour de France Femmes d'ailleurs cette année, et que est venu me voir dans mon bureau, ici, au siège de la Maurice Sport Organisation, une délégation de 10 personnes avec des hommes et des femmes politiques de tous bords confondus, avec le préfet qui était là pour dire « Monsieur, ça fait 12 ans que le Tour de France n'est pas passé dans la Creuse, ce n'est pas possible. » Et on fait en sorte, si vous superposez les cartes du Tour, alors c'est encore plus vrai avec le Tour de France Femmes maintenant, vous verrez qu'on essaye d'aller à peu près partout, tous les 5 ans, tous les 6 ans, de passer au moins une fois. On ne réussit pas toujours, mais c'est vraiment un objectif. Et quand on construit un parcours, on regarde ça, bien évidemment. Il y a les nouvelles candidatures qui font très plaisir, et puis il y a les candidatures renouvelées qui font tout autant plaisir, parce que vous dites que voilà, ils ont eu le Tour, mais ils le veulent encore. Oui. sur le papier, c'est un tour à l'ancienne, avec une semaine de plaine et ensuite on entre dans la montagne. Mais c'est une semaine de plaine en faux semblant. C'est-à-dire qu'en vérité, dans la première semaine, il y a 4 étapes pour les sprinteurs et 4 pour les punchers, voire les favoris du classement général. En fait, quand on regarde la géographie de la France, parce que beaucoup tient à la géographie de mon pays, la France, quand on trace une droite du Pays Basque à l'Alsace, à l'ouest de cette droite, il n'y a pas de montagne. Or, il y a la Bretagne qui adore le vélo, il y a le Nord qui adore le vélo, il y a la Normandie qui adore le vélo, il y a aussi la Vendée, par exemple, qui adore le vélo. Donc en fait, Thierry Gouvenou et les équipes sont allés traquer la moindre côte sur le parcours. Prenons l'exemple du Grand Départ. Grand Départ dans les Hauts-de-France. L'arrivée de la deuxième étape, en fait, j'ai dit à Thierry, l'étape la plus dure possible dans le secteur, et pour avoir l'étape la plus dure possible, où faut-il mettre l'arrivée? Il m'a dit sans conteste, c'est Boulogne-sur-Mer. Boulogne était candidate, elle a déjà été étape du Tour, il y a eu le championnat de France là-bas, le maire Frédéric Cuvillier, ancien ministre, adore le vélo, on l'a fait. Mais en utilisant donc les collines des Flandres et du Boulonnais. Et le final sera très raide. Aujourd'hui, ce sont les pentes extrêmes qui font la différence. Alors là, ben voilà, c'est court, mais c'est raide, et ça s'enchaîne. Et quand vous arrivez sur le plateau, puisque Thierry Gouvenou aurait une tendance à être parfois un peu pervers, je dis ça en plaisantant, c'est balayé par le vent puisque c'est complètement à découvert.
And here we go, ramping into it. Watch the percentages suddenly start to kick up. Oh, look at this. Oh, amazing.
Il y a d'abord qu'il y a une génération formidable qui utilise la moindre côte, les moindres pourcentages. Il y a ensuite, donc c'est une question d'attrait du cyclisme. Mais il y a aussi que les aménagements routiers étant de plus en plus nombreux, c'est de plus en plus compliqué d'arriver en ville pour une étape de plaine et que très régulièrement, depuis 3 ou 4 ans, par rapport à ce que nous avons imaginé, on est obligé de changer 1 voire 2 étapes parce qu'il y a trop d'aménagements et que les collectivités ne sont pas forcément prêtes, même pour le Tour de France, à tout casser pour une après-midi, pour des coureurs cyclistes qui arrivent. Donc, si on met des pentes, si on va chercher des pentes, on a une course qui ne s'adresse pas forcément aux mêmes. Donc ce n'est pas tout le peloton groupé qui va se lancer là-dedans parce que certaines équipes savent que, et ensuite les favoris partent, et il y a moins de risques. On a réduit la distance des étapes, mais après, vous ne pouvez pas tout réduire. C'est d'ailleurs pour ça, alors on va nous en faire parfois le reproche, c'est pour ça qu'il y a autant d'espace entre chaque étape. Parce qu'à un moment, si vous voulez que l'étape soit la plus dense possible, il n'y a pas de secret, sachant que quand on regarde un parcours du Tour de France et qu'on voit que tout est lié, en fait, c'est faussement lié puisque on n'arrive pas à loger dans les villes à départ ou arrivée. Donc, de toute façon, quand vous mettez une ville, vous avez un tiers logé dans la ville arrivée, un tiers dans la ville départ du lendemain et un tiers entre les deux. Donc, de toute façon, en dehors d'une très très grande ville, et dans les très très grandes villes, c'est de plus en plus compliqué d'arriver à cause des aménagements, vous ne pouvez pas loger. Donc, de toute façon, à un moment, voilà, la demi-heure ou les 3 quarts d'heure qu'ils font le soir ou le matin, ils seront obligés de les faire quoi qu'il en soit, même si le départ et l'arrivée sont dans la même ville, à l'exception notable de Pau, par exemple. Pour moi, le Tour ne peut pas exister sans les Alpes et les Pyrénées. Il faut forcément les Alpes et les Pyrénées. Mais il faut utiliser la géographie de la France. J'évoquais ce terme tout à l'heure de géographie. C'est pour ça que les autres massifs, les Vosges, le Jura, le Massif central, mais parfois aussi les collines du Beaujolais ou le Morvan, nous les utilisons au maximum.
Here he goes, and Jonas Vingegaard now suddenly is on the defensive. And it is Pogačar who's been hit. Will it be Vingegaard? Will it be Pogačar? And look at that! And here goes Pogačar, and that's it. And Vingegaard playing Pogačar at his own game. Look at this. The Tour de France is set up to perfection.
C'est qu'ils arriveront tous les deux en pleine forme, sans nouvelle chute. Je dis sans nouvelle chute puisque Jonas Vingegaard est tombé sur Paris-Nice et qu'en fait, les 2 dernières éditions du Tour de France, elles se sont beaucoup jouées dans ces chutes-là, que ce soit pour Vingegaard, on vient de l'évoquer, mais c'était vrai sur Pogačar aussi l'année d'avant avec sa fracture du poignet à Liège-Bastogne-Liège, et où on voyait dans les descentes, et Thierry Gouvenou, qui était tout près de lui le plus souvent, me disait dans les descentes, il n'est pas lui-même, parce qu'il n'avait pas retrouvé la souplesse du poignet qui lui permettait de piloter son vélo comme il le fait d'habitude. Il est extraordinairement adroit. Pogačar, enfin, il sait tout faire, mais il est aussi très adroit, et bien évidemment, quand il revenait il y a 2 ans après sa fracture du poignet, il n'avait pas la même efficacité en descente.
Tadej Pogačar wins Liège-Bastogne-Liège again.
Moi, la première chose qui me vient à l'esprit, mais c'est toujours lié à la sécurité, c'est quelle route demain? C'est une vraie question. C'est une vraie question de sécurité, mais c'est une vraie question qui déborde le cadre stricto sensu de la compétition. Le président du département de la Haute-Savoie, il y a 3 ans, lorsque nous avions 3 étapes, a refait la quasi-totalité des descentes parce qu'il avait les moyens financiers de le faire et parce qu'il aime le vélo. Est-ce que ce sera toujours possible demain? On voit très bien en France, d'un département à l'autre, en cours d'étape, on passe d'un département à l'autre et tout d'un coup, les routes perdent 2 mètres de largeur et le revêtement n'est plus du tout le même. Qu'est-ce que ça donnera? Les aménagements routiers, je vous le disais, rentrer dans les villes. Là, sur le parcours du Tour qui vient, nous avons encore quelques difficultés, comme chaque année au même moment, parce que les équipes qui vont régulièrement sur le terrain découvrent un nouvel aménagement routier dont on ne nous avait pas parlé. Et voilà, donc voilà, est-ce qu'on peut faire en sorte que les travaux soient différés? Est-ce qu'on doit changer le parcours? Tout ça, il y a des aménagements qui chaque année, existent jusqu'à 15 jours du départ du Tour de France.
And today Pogačar wins the Tour in the greatest style we've ever seen.
Do you know, it's really funny when we think of a comparison between cycling and any other sport. It's like being able to change the size of the football pitch or change the dimensions. Like the way in which you can really not decide, but help determine, shape who wins a Tour de France, who goes down in history, is down to the course that's designed. You know, how many kilometres of time trial, how many long, grinding climbs you have compared to short punchy. Yep. You know, the fact that all of that from the outside you forget, you know, or for people outside of cycling, they don't realise the ways in which each year's course decides who wins it.
It sounds like UAE paid the ASO quite a lot of money. Because there's a lot of steep punchy climbs.
But doing one rider.
But that's the thing though.
Well, it is a massive thing, and I think ultimately what we heard there was he wants it to be exciting because you can get the long days, the long climbs, you can get the punchy climbs that are just at the finish, or it might be too hard, so not the full pelotons contesting it. I think the Giro this year did it fantastically. There's just enough stages and just hard enough where it might be a sprint, might not be a sprint, really long climbs, whatever it might be. But I think what they're trying to do at the Tour de France this year is just make it a spectacle and so entertaining for us to watch, because it's coming into those final bits where it's the short times, not big gaps are being taken. Sprinters might be there, they might not be there.
But what's entertaining? Close competition. So if it is a route, but if it is a route that suits Pogačar way, like for example, you know, if you've got lots of punchy short climbs, that's not necessarily entertaining. Like it has to depend on the qualities and the skills of the riders involved, doesn't it, as well?
Yes. And then the other one is time trialling.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't seen long time trials for a
long time.
A few years.
And team time trials for that.
Yeah, time trials, yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I love a team time trial.
Yeah, because you two have never ridden one.
There's definitely a place, I think, for some of the longer time trials, though, or more time trial in kilometres. If we're trying to find the best all-round cyclist.
They used to have like Alpe d'Huez time trial when Armstrong was winning up there.
We've got one this year. We've got one this year.
And then finally, thanks Matt, they brought it back.
Beautifully said right there.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. That will be a good one. They want entertainment, they want nerves, they want stress, but also it can backfire as well. You know, imagine if the first week of the Tour de France, if one of the two big favourites crashed out,
Exactly.
then you get a one-sided tour. You know, or I think last year when Tadej just totally bossed the Giro. I heard with television that the ratings actually fell off in the second half of the race because one, there was no Italian fighting for a podium, and two, the race was over.
Yeah.
When someone's 5 minutes up the road going into the second half of the race, some people switch off. Yeah. Whereas the Tour generally, it's a closer fought battle because the gaps aren't as big traditionally.
And I wonder if taking out those longer, or not having as many longer mountain stages on those alpine climbs, for example, it maybe limits the time loss. Having shorter steep climbs, you're not going to gain as much.
I love a long climb. You know the kinds of day as a fan where it's as hot as it is today, right? And you stick on the Tour de France and you watch the breakaway form and then you go off and you do your thing and you can hear the commentary in the background.
Like Test cricket.
Exactly though. And it's not too intrusive, and every time somebody raises their voice, you run back in again and you hear what's going on and you think to yourself, oh, I could have a little nap. You lie down on the sofa and you have a cheeky little nap.
You like to watch TV while asleep is what you say.
I love it. But then the crescendo of the commentary wakes you up just at the right time. And you feel like you've had a friend for the day. You know, you've had company. And I just... No, I'm not sad.
Everyone just looking around. Really good moment to go here. Marlen Reusser going on the attack. Reusser and Vollering just looking around at each other. It's going to come down to the throw between Reusser.
Marlen Reusser, what?
And her choice words in the post-race interview.
Was that when she was annoyed at the line of questioning her?
No, about Demi.
Who should have picked out Vollering?
Demi, yeah.
Our leading group has split. Amber Crack goes to a bit for glory here. Cassia Niewiadoma that ups the tempo, makes the move. It's up to Marlen Reusser now to do the work, fix the elbow. A solo win for Amber Crack as she takes stage 2. 100 metres to go. Misha Bredevold is still there, and Lisa Balsamos had to go.
It's good to see her winning.
Coming through the throw to the line. So the yellow jersey now makes a big move. Take a bow. Marlen Reusser takes the general classification for the second time in her career with a phenomenal show of strength.
I mean, that was phenomenal, wasn't it? And I feel like after Burgos, the whole thing was, well, Damie isn't here. You know, we don't have the same field as we're going to have for the rest of the year. And there, she's against all the big hitters and smashes it. Brilliant.
It's wonderful. And I know she hates people talking about it. And she said it in so many interviews post-race about, of course, what she went through last year with illness and having to overcome that. But it's so nice to see that you've got another general classification contender thrown into the mix. And even one stage, she was sprinting against Damie and there was nothing on offer. It wasn't for the stage win or anything, but it was almost just like, got the upper hand there.
Yeah, and you were saying about her post-race comments then.
Yeah, I think she was... Of course, they've been teammates as well. So Marlen Reusser knows Damie Vollering and the way that she races very well, and also behind the scenes, what it's like on the team bus, within the team, on training camps, etc. But for her, she was quite choice about her words, saying, I think she almost panics under a bit of the pressure. She's not really thinking.
As a leader, you know what a leader's strengths are. As a domestique, you know what domestique's strengths are. But as a domestique, not as a race leader. So when that changes, it might take a little bit of getting used to and trying to understand that rider a bit more. And I can imagine for Demi, it might have been like I know how good she's going, I know how good she can be going. But I've probably got the upper hand because I've always had the upper hand.
Maybe it's great for everybody. The fact that we've got another rider up there, Cassia Niewiadoma, is looking in superb form.
Building very well.
Building very well. A great training camp over in Boulder, combining a bit of off bikes, private life stuff as well, and just enjoying time with family and a training camp. But then also for Damie, maybe it's a good thing.
Where's
I think it's only
To lose, it can only be a good thing. I mean, you can learn from losing.
Yeah.
Oh, trust me, you can.
Well, they always say
Quite easily.
They always say you learn more from losing than you ever do from winning. But what I love as well is that we hoped that breaking up the SD Works dominance would lead to excitement across the course of the season, and we're seeing it already. You know, and the fact that Marlen Reusser would never have had this leadership opportunity, I don't think, if she was still at SD Works. And the fact that you have her up against Damie Vollering, you know, we're not even looking at Anna van der Breggen yet. We're not even looking at, as you say, Lotte Kopecky, Cassia Niewiadoma right up there. I think the Tour de France Femmes this year is set to be an absolute bloody stonker. I think it's going to be amazing because it's not like the men's race where you've got two riders head and shoulders above all the rest. You've got 5 riders who could easily be the winner of this race, you know?
It's like the achievement for the men's.
And the teams are a lot more even across the board now, which wasn't the case 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got five quite strong teams now that the depth is spread out, and it is making for exciting racing.
Do we have a favourite then for the Tour de France Femmes? Because I don't think I can call it.
I'm really intrigued with Kopecky.
I was just going to say.
Really intrigued still, because she's not shown herself in a long time racing.
Yeah.
Very, very intrigued to see how she's.
Yeah, at the start of the season, she was my pick for the win, for the overall GC. For me,
but see, is that based on Kopecky being Kopecky?
Probably,
do you know what I mean?
But also, I think off the back of what she did in 2023, when she finished on the podium, she had a tremendous final time trial in Pau. She was excellent on the Tourmalet, and she didn't really have a big focus on the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift that year, and it was all in support of Damie Vollering. Now she is fully focusing on it, and the team have done full recons of every stage. They're all together. I've seen her, Cicchini, others.
I think the nice thing
and I
is-
think you've seen all the stages as well.
What I'm excited about with that team is they've got Van der Breggen and Lotte.
And how good is she going to be as well?
Exactly,
Yeah.
I think with those two, for me, is I know it sounds awful, but those two are proper bike riders in the sense that they've grown up on pedals. They've spent their whole life on them. And I think having two riders like that really understand a bike race can be quite dangerous. I know your legs have to do the talking, but I think tactically those two together can be very destructive before even they get to the mountains, and that'd be very hard for any other team to try and control.
It's so hard to call. Like I keep thinking, oh, I'm going to land on that name. I'm going to land on that name, and then I move on.
Voss, there's another name for
Yeah.
I think we'll have a better idea after the Giro as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's still a long
Still
way
a distance away. Yeah.
Still a long way away. I don't know when Kopecki's returning back to competition, but in the next month we'll.
Yeah.
Sophie Doomey's going to be so hard to beat in a new team with the momentum behind her.
Yeah, and that team is bolstered. As
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
as well.
Can I bring up something that has really angered me in the last week? I mean, I'm getting so angry even thinking about it. My heart's pounding. I'm so upset about it. The new UCI rules over handlebar width. Now, this is not something, don't laugh at me.
I got so upset.
I did. Do you know what, right? I was on holiday in Mallorca with my family, and I was telling my husband about it over lunch.
Oh.
And he was so angry along with me.
I bet you had a great lunch.
He's quite a nice man anyway, but I like to show him the world through female eyes. And honestly, he thought it was absolutely bonkers, right? He's a scientist. So he said, well, where's the data? I'm like, what data? He said, what research is this decision based on? For anyone who missed it, it's that all riders in the professional peloton from 2026 have to ride a minimum of 40 centimetre width handlebars. And as I was pointing out to my husband, the average shoulder width for a woman is 33 centimetres, and 40 is quite big. I've recently done a bike fit, I'm 38, and I'm not small for a professional female cyclist. So even 40 would be too wide for me. So he was like, well, where's the research? Where's the data? Like, what are they using to base this on? The point around 40 centimetres was safety in general. Right. But I can only presume that it's based on the male peloton, because it's not to do with safety in the female peloton. Because
it's not to do with safety at all.
Well, I think that was the point that handlebars are going too narrow.
Yeah, I think they're scared of setting a limit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why they set.
Why at 40?
Why is 40, and then if that's your rationale for men, or that's right. If it's the 40 for men, well, then it should be adjusted for body types. For women, it should be 36 or something like that.
Yeah.
But you have it in time trial, for example. If you're a short rider, a short male, there's 3 different sizes, isn't there, for a time trial bike? Yeah. If you're below, is it 180? You have a certain dispensation, and then 180 to 189. You can go a little bit higher, and then if you're above 190, you have a dispensation again.
If you take this along a couple of steps, okay, and in a few years' time, you look at the mountain stage of a Tour de France, for example, and there isn't the same competition between the very top riders, or there isn't the same aggression, whatever it is, and you look at that and you think, oh, that's because women aren't very good at cycling, they're not as good as men, or the women's sport isn't as strong or as healthy, we don't have the same strength and depth. What you're not factoring in is the potential that actually young riders coming into the professional peloton who are riding a badly fitted bike will get more injured, they'll have more pain. It discriminates against, in particular, female climbers, because they're going to be the smallest of the professional peloton in general. So they're going to be whittled out of the sport, or they're going to be off with injury for longer. And the net result is that the sport suffers. But you're never going to look back and go, oh, that's handbar width. You're never going to make that connection a few years down the line, but the damage has been done. And it's like, you look at the societal prejudice against women when it comes to equipment. Anyway, why do we not have so many female concert pianists? Because pianos are made for male hands. Yeah. The cockpit of an airplane is designed around male measurements, not female measurements. The world is designed literally for men. We don't have to keep making the same mistakes, surely.
I don't know why it's 2025 and you can't just have two separate rulings.
As you said, I think the UCI, as they do for time trials, how wide are your shoulders? Yeah. And that's it. Just look how wide your shoulders are, because you could have tiny little shoulders, so you need a narrow handlebar. Done. Fine. There you go. Everyone's on the same wavelength.
The rider from Lidl Trek, Nee Fisher-Black, the New Zealander, she posted on social media the width of her shoulders with a tape measure, saying, look,
And what was she?
She was 30.
Sure.
Jonas was 30 or 32. I mean, she's a fantastic climber.
Exactly.
She's, you know.
She's riding around like that.
We're talking about the women. There's a lot of very petite male riders.
Yeah. The climbers again.
Same before Martinez.
Lenny Martinez.
He certainly doesn't ride 40 with bars.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe even Jonas Vingegaard, for example.
Yep.
Dare I say that if enough of the men protest, maybe they'll listen. Just finally then, on a scale of 0 to 10, how excited are we after the Dauphiné and after Suisse for the women about the 2 Tours de France this year? 0 to 10.
Very.
You did a mouse at school.
What did you get? Any G7?
I don't know.